Okay, this is this is a newspaper article in the FBI files, dated 29 August 1978. I mean, I have so many thoughts. I'm not going to go too deep, though. Scientology Flagship Shrouded in Mystery. Vessel was focus of mutual suspicion between church and government. By Robert Gillette, Times staff writer. It's from the Los Angeles Times, dated 29 August 1978. On June 25, 1971, a young Colorado woman named Susan Meister died in an apparent. Right away, I don't particularly buy that. Died in an apparent bluicide aboard the Apollo. Again, with the Apollo, you guys. Isn't it weird how many people don't talk about all these crimes that went on the Apollo, as well as the it used to be the Royal Scotsman. And there's another ship. I can't think of the name right now. The 3,280-ton flagship. My question is, why do they have to put how many tons? But anyways. Of the Church of Scientology, and for nearly a decade, the personal yacht. Now it's a yacht, you guys. It's a yacht. From all the descriptions I've heard, it sounded like a hellhole. Stunk. Engine rooms, all that stuff. Of the Church of Scientology, and for nearly a decade, the personal yacht of the church's founder, allegedly, L. Ron Hubbard. In mid-July that year, according to State Department correspondence obtained by the Times, Ms. Meister's father traveled from Colorado to the Moroccan port of Safi, 125 miles south of Casablanca, where the Apollo was then moored, to inquire into his daughter's death. Oh, you guys, I just thought of something. Wasn't Mike Rinder, Mark Rathburn, otherwise known as Marty, and Gerald Armstrong all on that boat at that time? It's just a question. It's just a question. I've never heard that Tom Vogt was on those ships, but something to look into. Meister is said to have questioned the explanation of the death proffered by the ship's officers. Officers, you guys. Let's just keep it real. Wannabes, you guys. They want to be the military so bad. And indicated that he might seek an investigation of the Apollo. Also, Morocco kicked them out as well. Wonder how this corresponds with the book that I'm reading by I'm going blank. The Commodore's Messenger. Janice O'Grady, I couldn't think of it. In turn, according to a November 11th, 1971 letter from Assistant Secretary. You guys see the symbolism there? November is the 11th year. And the 11th? I mean, I don't know if that's what it was, but... Letter from Assistant Secretary of State David M. Abshire to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. The Apollo's port captain threatened, in the presence of the American Vice Consul from Casablanca, William J. Galbraith, that he had enough material, including compromising photographs of Miss Meister, to smear Mr. Meister first. Do you guys wonder if Susan Meister had been essayed? I do. And we all know that was fair game. Isn't it weird how all these various governmental agencies and government officials have always been immersed in these so-called sex scandals? Weird, huh? And there's that word smear again. According to the Abshire letter, Mr. Hubbard was apparently aboard the Apollo. Of course he was. At the time of Mr. Meister's visit, but declined to see him. Meister was said to have left Morocco the day before the threat was made. Also, anybody else who's doing some research, maybe you could help me out. How does this time frame correspond to when Morocco kicked the Apollo and L. Ron Hubbardines out? You know, the ship's full of children. Yeah. No such smear occurred, and according to a church acquaintance of Miss Meister's, who has since renounced Scientology, could that be the Hannah? Any such threat would almost certainly have been an empty one. There was no way that girl could have been involved in anything compromising. She was very quiet, very nice, said the acquaintance. Y'all know what else she was? What do you guys think is always the corresponding thread with these crimes against the women? Anybody? She was pretty. The State Department letter also says that the same officer, you know, the one with no name, you know, the wannabe, who allegedly threatened to smear Miss Meister, told Galbraith, whom the officer had invited down from Casablanca, that his organization, backed by money and friends in high places, would cause a nosy vice consul severe problems. So he threatened a government official, basically. And that in Safi, where the ship was well liked, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Accidents could easily happen to people. So he openly threatened a government official. Isn't that great? But nobody knows anything, do they? The Apollo's two senior officers, don't you guys wonder who those were? Anybody with the intel of those ship lists? You know, the lists that they keep. Well, you know, if you're really in the military, what they used to do back before all this internet is they would keep these lists of people whom were on the ships. That's how they are able to track people's deaths, their disabilities, and all various types of things. Like, for example, Brownwater Vietnam veterans. They're able to verify what ship the person was on. So why I bring that up is we could all try to like brainstorm as to who the two senior officers, you know, the two wannabes, who they were. The Apollo's two senior wannabes then filed a normal complaint with the U.S. government after Meister's death, isn't that great? Alleging that Vice Consul Galbraith had threatened them by saying that he could get the ship sunk. So they inverted it, or they turned it back on him, mirroring, kind of, I guess in a way mirroring, by the CIA, or have it sabotaged by getting a couple of bottles of Coca-Cola into the engine. Huh! Can't help but think of all the so-called bluicides in which people had hoses connected to their exhaust pipe. It's a little different, but by getting a couple of bottles of Coca-Cola into the engine oil, or even better, commercial diamond dust. Galbraith said these allegations contained in a notarized statement were a complete fabrication. Huh. Kind of like being demonstrably false, huh? We ever heard that demonstrably false before? Huh? The incident at Safi appears to have marked a low point in a relationship between the Church of Scientology and the American diplomatic outposts abroad that was generally characterized by mutual suspicion. Paranoia, more like, on the Scientology part. The Church, for its part, suspected U.S. diplomats and intelligence operatives of fomenting trouble for it around the world. Government officials, in turn, expressed bewilderment at the sometimes eccentric behavior of the Apollo crew. Psycho. Paranoid. Isn't Apollo a Greek god? I think President Trump has statues of Apollo in one of his homes. Must be a coincidence. Sometimes eccentric behavior of the Apollo crew and wondered in correspondence and cables to Washington whether the ship might be a cover for illicit activities ranging from D-running to blank slavery. The 320-foot ship, you know, the numbers are so important. That's a 32, by the way. That's also significant. The 320-foot ship was purchased in the mid-1960s and sold about 14 months ago, according to the church spokesman, you know, the one with no name. Built in 1937. It had served as a freighter and a ferry under the command of Commodore Hubbard. Isn't that stolen valor? Isn't that stolen valor? Hubbard wasn't a Commodore. As he ranked himself aboard the ship, it became the headquarters and training vessel of his Sea Org. I'm going to have to put that in the gematinator. An elite management corps in the church. But over the years, as the Apollo plied a generally triangular course, triangular is also, reminds me of magic. Must be a coincidence. But over the years, as the Apollo plied a generally triangular course from ports in Spain and Portugal, south to Morocco, west to Madeira, and back to the Iberian coast, the crew, let me just clear that one up. You know the crew were children, right? In case anybody didn't know. The crew appears to have done its utmost to obscure its relationship with Scientology. Sailing under Panamanian registry. Did you guys wonder why the FBI has this in their file? Sailing under Panamanian registry, the ship's owner was listed as the Operation and Transport Corporation Ltd., a Panamanian company. OTC, the crew consistently told skeptical press, and local officialdom as its port of call was a secular business management training firm whose clients could not be divulged. This is before it became a so-called religion, fake religion. Listen to how they make it sound like such a great... And they don't even really talk about Susan Meister. This is why I was going to read it. Adding to the aura of mystery, you know the mystery, you guys, like the mysteries. The ship transmitted coded radio messages to New York and points unknown in established land bases in Casablanca and Tangier cities, steeped in intrigue. Ooh, steeped in intrigue, you guys. I mean, at least people knew how to write good stories then. The Apollo appears to have done little to dispel the air of mystery about it. Oh, it's so mysterious, you guys. A ship with a degenerate black tooth, cigarette smoking, no filter, stolen valor, fraud, convicted felon, L. Ron Hubbard, with not enough food on it. It stunk. It wasn't working out really well. With a ship full of child slaves. That's what it really was. In my opinion. In September 1969, soon after the OTC established a land base at Tangier, the American consulate at Casablanca cabled an account of a visit aboard the ship, noting that all concerned had been completely perplexed by the vagueness of the replies to such questions as why the ship was operated and what its crew was training to do. You know, the crew, the children, the child slaves. The child slaves, you guys. But it's a mystery, you guys. An Apollo brochure was said to explain that some 109 trainees aboard, that means children, were learning the art and culture of the navigation, the theory of which, when applied, demonstrates a very useful practice at sea. Imagine somebody's printing this stuff. Wakey, wakey. Although the Apollo was registered in Panama and owned by a Panamanian company, the Panamanian Consul General had no better luck in eliciting information. He found the U.S. cable said that the Apollo was in a very bad state of repair. Like I said, piece of junk ship. It's honestly lucky that that ship didn't sink. How many times? Bad state of repair, and believed that the lives of the crew, you know, the children, had been in jeopardy while the vessel was at sea. Yeah, you know, worrying about unattended, uncared for children that were slaves on a ship in the middle of nowhere with this degenerate black tooth, fake military, believes it's okay to kiss a 7-year-old girl passionately on the lips, gallivanting with other women while he was a married man. It's just, I don't even know where to begin. Not to mention all the crimes against the children. The Panamanian Consul General has tried unsuccessfully to meet Commodore Hubbard, it's a fake Commodore, who has taken a suite at the El Mansour Hotel and has instructed the hotel personnel to refuse all telephone calls. But it was just so... Ellen Hubbard was just so evasive, right? It was just so hard to get... It was so hard to get him and arrest him. It was just so difficult. It is possible that Commodore... I don't even like calling him the Commodore. It is possible that Hubbard and his wife are philanthropists. Can you imagine this, you guys? Of some kind, and or eccentrics. But if one does not accept this as an explanation, there has to be some other gimmick involved in this operation. What this gimmick might be is unknown here. Although people in Casablanca have speculated variously from smuggling to D-traffic to a far-out religious cult. And unfortunately, I cannot read the whole thing. Let me see. I think this is a continuation. Give me a minute. At least it was well written. At times, the Apollo and OTC appear to have deliberately teased the curiosity of diplomatic officials. Isn't that a beautiful way to describe it? Imagine this atrocity of a frickin' ship. Imagine this. With some psychotic, degenerate, black-toothed weirdo calling himself a Commodore. With all these children, they're basically starving. What was it Janice said they were eating for a while? They were eating like barley sugar and spoiled rice or something. I mean, it's just, it's unreal. Tease the curiosity, you guys. No, they wanted to save the children. Maybe not all of them, but I imagine a lot of them did. From Tangier in February of 1971, American Consul General Howard D. Jones wrote to the U.S. legal attaché in Madrid of a puzzling social encounter with someone from the OTC. I recently met at a social function, a young American lady associated with this new enterprise, Jones wrote. They're calling it an enterprise. She introduced herself to an American standing with me in this way. I am Meredith Thomas. I am here with a Panamanian corporation, and that is all I can tell you. The air of mystery. Oh, here's more mystery, you guys. Almost like it's a code. The air of mystery on this good ship Apollo may not mask any illegal activity. Still, I thought it worthwhile to check, Jones said. 14 months later, there's that number again. 14 months later, the U.S. consulate at Tangier dispatched a lengthy cable to Washington, reflecting a mixture of bemusement and bewilderment at the semi-clandestine activities of Scientology in Morocco. Look at that, you guys. Bemusement and bewilderment at child slavery. Isn't that wonderful? The April 26, 1972 cable from Tangier said, little is known of the operations of the Operation and Transport Company here, and its officers, you know, children, are elusive about what it does. However, we presume that the Scientologists aboard the Apollo and in Tangier do whatever it is that Scientologists do elsewhere. You know, enslaved children. It's my opinion. There have been rumors in town that the Apollo isn't involved in the D or white slave traffic. Yeah, that was confirmed by L. Ron Hubbard's son. What do they call him? Nibs? He confirmed the D trafficking. Yeah. Because, you know, you got to have somebody to run it, right? So much I could say. I can't go too deep. However, we doubt these reports. I'm going to read that again. There have been rumors in town that the Apollo is involved in the D or white slave traffic. However, we doubt these reports. Please explain why you would doubt those. You guys know what's up, right? Everybody's getting a cut. The stories about white slave traffic undoubtedly stem from the fact that included among the crew of the Apollo are a large number of strikingly listen to this, you guys. I just want to go off. I just want to go off. What did I just say? What did I just say? Among the crew of the Apollo are a large number of strikingly beautiful young ladies. They're also called children. That's what they're called. I've been screaming this since I started researching all of this, talking about the Commodores. Yeah, I know there were some male Commodores, but L. Ron Hubbard, the pervert, surrounded himself with young girls as the Commodores. And I believe there's some people that have a lot more that they should be sharing, or maybe they will one day. I just don't know, but I think a lot of awful things went on. Strikingly beautiful young ladies. However, we are skeptical that a vessel that stands out like a sore thumb, in which considerable interest is bound to be generated, and with a crew numbering in the hundreds, would be a reasonable vehicle for smuggling or white slaving. On an extended cruise through the Caribbean in the summer of 1975, rumors of illicit or clandestine activity followed the Apollo from island to island like seagulls behind a fishing smack. Don't you guys wonder what Charlie Igloo Alpha did? Oh, so much I want to say. In September 1975, the American Embassy in Trinidad cabled in a local news roundup to Washington that the controversial yacht Apollo, it's a yacht now, you guys. It was a ship one day. Controversial yacht Apollo seems to have worn out its welcome in Trinidad, getting kicked out of all these countries. But yet none of these alphabet agencies did anything, did they? Didn't do anything. Only time they did something is when, allegedly, the Scientologists in Scientology infiltrated the government, allegedly. It's the only time they did anything. The BOMB also speculated that the ship was linked to the that the ship was linked to Charlie Igloo Alpha and Sharon Tate Merckx in Los Angeles. That led to a libel action by the Church of Scientology. Okay, you guys, I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.